get right started. So, Matt, what are we playing?
All right. So this is us playing the $250 opening event for the WSOP Online Circuit Series. It is a bounty event, but just a standard old school bounty. It's a $100 bounty for every player that you knock out. So like 130 bucks, 125 bucks to the prize pool, $100 to the bounty pool, and then 25 in rake or whatever it was. And so 10,000 chips to start. And yeah, that should set the stage pretty well.
Okay, so we're starting with 10,000 chips. What's that make a bounty worth?
So bounty here, so if we just assume it's like a 200
Assume it's 50%, right?
Yeah, so it's a 50%, then the bounty would be what, one half of the buy-in. And so the bounty should be worth 5,000 in starting chips, I believe.
I think it might be 10. I
believe it should be 5,000. I believe it's a half started stack.
Okay,
because
sure.
100 is the prize pool, 100 is the prize pool, so it should be worth half a starting stack, I'm pretty sure.
All right, well, either way, the main takeaway from this is it doesn't really matter when you get to the late stages of the tournament all that much.
Exactly.
Right? Okay, so.
Yep, it's not going to make any difference later in the tournament. Early on, it will make a difference in certain spots, and I'll point that out. But yeah, should we just jump right in?
Yes, let's get right to it. I think a lot of people in these bounty tournaments, so they like think, oh my god, I got to collect the bounty, but not that you do in PKO tournaments. You do need to be very concerned about it, or at least reasonably concerned about it. We have a bounty calculator at PokerCoaching.com in the tool section, so make sure you're using that for PKO tournaments. But this is just a regular knockout tournament, nothing fancy. Cool.
Yep. So we're going to start off here. The WSOP, I can't filter for like just hands that I played, so we're going to kind of jump across. Like I'm just going to skip the hands that I know I'm probably not playing. So this is the first spot, and I actually didn't play this hand, but it's a good point to point out for early stage tournaments. There's no antes on WSOP. They're one of the few sites that doesn't start with antes, and we just get a small raise and 3 callers, and I just fold ace jack offsuit here in the small blind. All the options kind of suck here. Calling and playing 5 ways out of position really sucks with ace jack offsuit out of position. Squeezing and playing a really big pot out of position, deep stack with ace jack offsuit, doesn't sound too attractive to me at all. And I think people think it's just really tight to fold ace jack here, but I actually think this is like reasonable, and I should just either 3-bet or fold. And 3-betting just didn't sound that attractive to me, so I just made kind of a tight fold here.
Would you be playing this hand shallow or stacked, or deeper?
Yes.
Like under what scenarios would you play this hand?
If we were shallower, like 4,000 chips deep, so 100 big blinds, I would almost for sure squeeze this hand. Or in this situation, I just really want to be like suited. So like hands like king queen suited, ace 10 suited, ace jack suited, ace queen suited. I'd be 3-betting those hands a lot here. I would squeeze to like something like 500 chips and trying to take the aggression in the pot and just putting a lot of money in with my really good hands. And the hands I flat with would just be kind of the standard ones like pairs, some of the suited connectors, pretty like condensed flat calling range around those types of hands that I'm either going to know what I hit on the flop or not.
Okay, hands that flop well, essentially.
Exactly.
Okay, so cool. This is a spot where you definitely want to be 3-betting or folding, I think. And
yep, so I agree there. Right. King 9 offsuit on the button here. I think we just raise and take it. Nothing exciting there.
Yeah, we don't need to go through just like the raise and take it, I don't think, unless they look especially loose to you.
So here I can highlight which hands I won. That's the one thing with the WSO replayer. So
we're going to be looking at winning hands today, perhaps.
So here we just raise with pocket queens in the small and the cutoff. The big blind calls. Queen 10 deuce. You could make an argument for checking here with top set. However, I don't think people play aggressive enough to make us incentivized to check with really big hands here. You want to do that against people that are really aggressive, capable of overbetting, capable of trying to attack you when you check back flop. So I go ahead and bet.
Also, this is a board where it's pretty easy for the opponent to have a draw or a pair. Like they could easily have some, like they're going to play all their high cards, right? So even though you block the high cards pretty hard, they're going to have Jack 9 or even like Jack 8. You don't really care if it folds, right? Because that may sporadically get there and beat you.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm all for not slow playing in spots like that as well. I think a lot of people think you like must slow play. If you look at the solver, maybe it even says to slow play. I don't know, but that's a spot where I'm just betting every time too.
Yep. Okay. Next hand that we actually win here. We play a decent sized spot with 8-7 of spades. We go ahead and raise it up, and we get called here by the button. The flop comes King Jack 7, and I elect to check here. This is a spot I've been working on a lot. I don't think we should be continuation betting much here out of position on this board texture. This is a spot where if we were against the big blind, we would be betting a lot. The big blind has a lot of air hands. They have a lot of really trashy hands that we can just fold out. The button, though, the types of hands, when we bet here, there's not a lot of hands that the button's going to fold. They have pocket pairs, suited connectors, Broadway hands, ace highs, not a lot of stuff that we're actually going to, like, this range is pretty tight on the button. And we need to be respectful of that. And it's a lot of situations when we raise from late position and we get flatted by the button, we will not have the range advantage. And therefore, we're going to end up almost playing like we are in the big blind instead of we are the pre-flop raiser. So we're going to be giving the, kind of the checking to them and playing more of a response to see how they're going to react with the stronger range being out of position here. So I end up checking with the 7-8 of spades.
Just to clarify that a little bit, this is a spot where if you think about what they're going to call you with on the button, it's going to be a lot of big cards, right? And suited connected cards and stuff like that. And that connects really well with this high card connected board. So even though, like, essentially no one really has a range advantage, no one has much of a nut advantage, you have a little bit of a nut advantage, but you're out of position and you're deep stacked, and that forces you to do a lot of checking.
Exactly. 100%.
Okay, good.
We face a small bet. I think we have a very easy decision. Just call. Nothing much here. It gets a little tricky on the turn here. We check and we face another kind of medium-ish size bet. I think there's an argument for folding here. If this was any larger, I would for sure fold. And this might even be a small mistake. I end up calling here. I'm not 100% sure. It could be a small mistake. I don't think either way. It's probably going to be, you call sometimes, fold sometimes here. I do end up calling.
Yeah, I like the call. It's a reluctant call, right? I mean, if you get an 8, it's probably good. If you get a 7, it's almost certainly good. And the check checks, you win sometimes, right? Not always, but sometimes. And you could definitely play, like you just said, some kings this way, some jacks this way, that is going to result in your opponent not just like barreling you off of this hand every time with every bluff.
Yeah, and I'm going to play king 10 pretty much this exact same way as I'm playing 7-8 here. So this is kind of, I'm calling 7-8, and I'm probably giving up to almost every aggression on the river.
Yeah.
Checking, and then he
perfectly fine, by the way, to check call some hands on the flop and on the turn, planning to fold them if your opponent bets the river. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what good poker is.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people kind of get in the mindset of like, well, if I call here on the turn, what do I do on the river? Well, yeah, you kind of deal with that when it happens. Yeah, you just fold and you deal with that when it comes up. So I end up taking the pot here.
Notice right here, opponent has the 2s. This is probably a hand that he should at least consider bluffing, and he didn't, right? I mean, I don't think it's a good bluff hand, but he could have bluffed, and he did not bluff, and that kind of illustrates why you can elect the check call here, because sometimes you win. This is a terrible river for you, though. Like, you're definitely folding if he bets.
Yeah, I'm 100% folding, and like this is probably one of the worst hands that he could have. Could definitely consider bluffing, like you said.
Glenn wants to know about your pre-flop raise sizing. Why are we doing 2.2x? Should we be doing more? Should we be doing less? Or is there any, like, does it even matter all that much? Like, what's your thought about it?
So here's my thing. Pre-flop raise sizing isn't going to make a massive difference in your EV of your strategy. The only thing that you should know, if you want to raise bigger pre-flop, like say early on in the tournament, you want to raise bigger because everyone calls a lot. If you're raising more, you should tighten up your opening range. You're risking more money, so you can't open up as many hands. If you want to play a lot of hands and you're going to raise, you want to get in as many pots as possible, you should probably min raise or raise more like min raise or 2.2x to compensate for the wider range that you're going to be opening.
Yep.
That's how I kind of approach it. And I think it's not going to make a huge difference if you 2x, 2.2, at least, especially in the early stages here. It's just kind of I think a little of a preference, and I don't think it's as much. I think people kind of overthink it too much where there's more important things that they can spend their time on. I
agree. I also think it just does not matter all that much. I think the reason people care about this is because it's something that happens all the time. Because every time you're going to play the hand, you got to do it. That said, it just doesn't matter, right? You just structure your range slightly looser if you're going smaller, slightly tighter if you're going bigger, and that's it. Don't worry about it too much. Also, whenever you min raise or raise small, the player in the big blind is going to call more often, and if you think they're going to play poorly across the board, you'd rather them get to play pots out of position against you.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I think there's also, too, to vary your bet sizes. I think one of the big mistakes people make is they don't adjust their calling range in the big blind. So they call the same range whether you min raise or you 3x. Mm-hmm. And so that leaves a lot of room for you to exploit in terms of your raise sizing versus those types of players. So keep in mind of which type of players are in the big blind, of how they change their ranges based off your pre-flop raise sizing, because it should change a lot. And I actually have started raising up a little bit bigger because I think people call too much in the big blind versus raising bigger sizes. And so
I agree with that as well. I definitely like going a little bit bigger because they defend as if they're facing a min raise, because that's what people face for a long time. I mean, back in the day, everybody used to 3x, so you start min raising and people fold way too often. Now everybody knows to call a ton, but they shouldn't call a ton against a 2.5x raise.
Yep.
All right.
Here, all right, we just can play. Like, this is, again, the thing with the replayer. I can't really see all the hands that I'm playing. I can see. So, A7 suited. We raise under the gun. And called by the big blind.
Go on, buddy.
Queen 9-7. If we were on the button, this would maybe be a hand that I would consider checking. But under the gun,
1 second, Mike.
our range is just...
1 second, Matt. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no way.
I'm sorry. Working from home, you know? All right.
If we were on the button here, I would consider checking this some of the time. But under the gun, our range is just so strong that we end up just not checking a ton in these spots. And so I'm going to go ahead and probably bet. I did put this in a check. I mean, it is bottom pair. You could probably go either way with this. But we have so many hands like Jack 10, King Jack. All of our range has like some type of straight draw. So we have quite a bit of connectivity with this board. So we should be betting quite a bit here.
Yeah, you can probably get away with betting 100% here. That said, if you do ever want to find hands to check, middle pair and bottom pair, especially hands like this, are perfectly viable ones to check.
Yep, and I think I just try to check it down to showdown.
Once you do check the flop, though, like this, you're just checking it down. Because if you check it down, you win.
Yep,
a lot of the time. But if you bet and get called, you often lose. And if they fold, you would have won anyway, so it doesn't make a difference.
Yep. Ace 9, easy fold. Let's see here. It's a small pot. Aces. All right, here's a good one. Watch me play really good poker here. Raise it up with aces, get 3-bet. All right, so here's the thing. At these stack sizes, I don't think there's any hand that we want to 4-bet to a size that's not all in and then have to fold to a shove. So, for example, what I'm trying to say is if I'm going to re-raise here, it's going to be for all in at less than 40 big blinds out of position. I really don't want to make it 3,500 with any hand, and then they're going to shove for 9,000. I'm priced into call with almost everything. So what my strategy here is actually I'm playing a call or all-in strategy. And what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to call with I'm calling with aces 100% of the time here. I'm never going to re-raise. I'm going to probably call with kings too. And my hands that shove are going to be like pocket queens, pocket jacks, maybe pocket tens, ace king, ace queen. The hands that are really strong but need a lot of protection. And these really strong hands like aces and kings that don't need a lot of protection, I'm going to call and use those as traps. And the reason is like shoving with aces here just kind of seems like wasting the value a lot. And yes, you could make it 3,500 here, but my strategy involves like I don't have any bluffs really that I want to make it 3,500. I'm playing a call or fold strategy. You could make it 3,500 with aces, and that's obviously going to be okay. But that's how I kind of construct my strategy and think about here. With 40 big blinds, my only size here is all in or call.
I like that strategy as well. I mean, I guess there is a little bit of merit to re-raising with, like, I don't know, king 5 suited and pocket aces. Exactly. Like, if you want to re-raise small, exactly that. But then it's like, do you really need to complicate your strategy at all? And you probably just don't, right? Now, if you were shallower stacked, you would then consider a small 4-bet, right? I'm sorry, if you're deeper stacked, you consider a small 4-bet.
Exactly. If I was deeper stacked, I'd almost always 4-bet. Yeah. And then also some of the other hands I might shove here that I think a lot of people miss. I think it's really good to shove here with hands like king jack suited or queen jack suited. I think are hands that are really good to shove with because a lot of the bluffs this player has are going to be like ace 10 offsuit and ace 9 offsuit and king queen offsuit. And when you shove, they fold those hands that dominate you when you have king jack or queen jack. And when they call and they have ace king or they have pocket tens, you have hands that have a lot of equity. And I think a lot of people just see those queen jack and king queen suited and just think, oh yeah, I'm going to call, I have a really good hand. But I actually think they actually play a lot better as a shove and kind of help. They're kind of your 4-bet shoves here to balance out your range of like pocket queens, jacks, tens, ace queen, ace king. And I think that actually also works very, very well. And for a lot of players that struggle playing post flop as well, it's probably a better option even to just shove with those hands because it eliminates the possibility that you make a mistake out of position with like a queen jack suited or a king jack suited, king queen suited type of hand.
You especially want to be jamming a lot if your opponents are generally aggressive as well.
Exactly.
Like if they're 3-betting you a lot, you in turn should be jamming a lot. And a lot of people get in the habit of like calling pre-flop then check folding. And you might as well print the money. That said, I love the call of the aces. A lot of people get afraid to call the aces though because they're worried about getting outdrawn, right?
100%.
And you're just not going to get outdrawn all that often. And your hand looks generally weak to your opponent to some extent. They're often not even going to put aces in your range. How shallow before we start using this all-in / call strategy? It's roughly like right at the stack. I mean, it depends on the re-raise size as well. Like say we min-raised here and the opponent re-raised to 4.5 big blinds, then maybe we can still 4-bet to 10 big blinds or 11 big blinds or 12 big blinds and fold our bluffs. Right? So it depends 100%. On the sizings being used. But it's something like 40-ish big blinds is where this happens. Basically, you want to ask yourself, can I realistically 3-bet with bluffs here and fold them if I get jammed on? And the problem is you're going to be getting about 2-to-1 pot odds to call if you get shoved on after putting in about a third of your stack, right?
100%.
So if you want to be putting in like, I personally try to do like 25 to 28-ish% of my stack or less with a reasonable sizing. And if you can do that, then you can have some bluffs in your range. But if you're putting in more than that, with a reasonable 4-bet size, you probably just want to do the shove or call.
Yep, I agree with that completely.
Should we make this play at 60 big blinds? Probably not.
Yeah,
well, I mean, you should have a small 4-bet size, 60 big blinds deep. You should have some shoves.
Yeah, I think like if you were to look at like pre-flop ranges, like it probably mixes. It might even flat aces sometimes, but it's a lot more reasonable. It's a lot more applicable to start 4-betting then because you actually have hands that can 4-bet perform better as a 4-bet bluff, and you're not priced in to call the all-in at that point with 60 big blinds.
Correct. I'm actually going to try to pull this up on our...
I'm assuming at 60 it still might even flat aces specifically, but kings it would shove 4-bet with. I'm guessing at 60 here.
I'm going to pull this up for everybody because we have it in our app. If you're a poker coaching member, you should have access to some of these. You see 40 big blinds deep. I don't know if you can see this, but you see the green one right over here? That is aces. It says you should call sometimes or jam sometimes, right? Notice GTO strategy has no small 4-bets, 40 big blinds deep. Assuming, you can give it as many sizings as you like in theory, but anyway, 60 big blinds deep, it does not jam anything. Now it's 4-betting small. It does like to 4-bet small with aces and a lot of other stuff. Anyway, use your app, Poker Coaching app. Search it in the app stores. So yeah, there you go. Anyway, all that's very clearly listed there. Now, of course, you want to be exploiting whatever your opponent does wrong, right? Like if your opponent's super duper calling station, maybe you just rip it all in. Or if you know they're super tight pre-flop and you know they only 3-bet with aces, kings, queens, jacks, and ace king anyway, probably want to go ahead and get it in because they're not going to fold any of it. But,
exactly.
I mean, if you have no reads on your opponent, then just try to play reasonably, looking to exploit whatever the player pool does wrong in general.
Yep.
Anyway, I like the call. Call's good.
I'd like to see myself call again here. And I think a lot of people, like, they trap on one street and they kind of unleash the trap way too soon.
They're like, look, I got him for the bet.
So, like, I really hope I call here because if this player's bluffing with king queen, I really don't want him to fold. There's like no hand. If this player is ever bluffing, I don't want him to fold. And yes, I do chance that if he has pocket queens, like a king could come off potentially. Like I do run some risk of that, but I think I would really like to see call here. I'm not sure what I did.
Yeah, I love the call. Okay, when you say here. Some risk, I mean, it's like 2 outs, I mean, also to be fair, if they have like pocket jacks and a queen comes, maybe they don't necessarily pay you.
And that's what I say risk. I'm not risk. I'm not talking about risk in terms of I'm worried about getting 2 outed. I'm worried if he has jacks and the turn is a king. Now I might not get as much action. That's the risk I'm talking about, not about losing the hand potentially. It's the risk of this player maybe not wanting to put more money in. So,
okay, cool, good.
Call.
If we are shallower than our opponent in a bounty tournament, should we be more inclined to jam with our premium hands because they're going to be more likely to call us?
Potentially, but the hands that are going to call us here, I think, really are still over pairs, and we're going to get the money against those hands anyways.
Right.
Like queens might put the money in even if a king comes anyways because of the bounty. And ace king would be the other hand, but we have 2 aces in our hand, so it's unlikely this player has an ace king type of hand to call us at this point as well because of we know the holdings of our hand. So
okay, so this is just like check call, unless it checks on the turn. I think. Yeah. Although here he does make a bet on the turn that's not all in. So small bet.
Yeah, I might just at this point I might just fire it in if I don't think this player is capable of like double barreling bluff here. I don't feel people bluff enough here, and it might be a little value heavy. I could go either way with call or shove here personally, because now this player's priced in with a lot of hands. Like if they have a flush draw, but calling in theory is probably the correct play here. If you think this player, again, kind of like pre-flop, if you think they're really tight, probably should just put the money in now. But and I'm not exactly sure, so I did call again. So I like that. And then
as they're more loose and aggressive, I tend to call more often. As they're more just tight and passive, I tend to jam more often. Because when they bet the turn, they have something good if they're tight and passive. But if they're maniacs, then you want to keep them in the pot with all their nonsense. And here you're going to stack there anyway. But this way, you gave them every possible opportunity to bluff.
Yeah, played that hand really well. Best player in the world, aces versus kings, right there. So.
It's important to get your aces against kings and not lose. All right.
Defend the ace-jack suited versus a 3x. Don't think I'm going to 3-bet an EP open. If this was like a cutoff open or button open or maybe even a hijack open, I would consider 3-betting, but not versus the early position. And pretty awful flop that we just get away from.
Do you ever call here against a small bet if he bets like 500? Against a big bet, it's an easy fold, but against a smaller bet.
So I think versus a small bet, it's really close because I'd rather call with Queen of Spades 10,
well, yeah,
for
of course,
example.
Right.
Like, we have all these hands that have a single spade in it or have a 5 in it or a 6 in it that, like, especially having a 6 in it because when the 5 comes, you make a bigger straight than his ace-x hands. So it's close. I'd probably call ace-jack and, like, maybe fold ace-10. Like, that's how close it's getting there versus a small bet. So yeah, I'd probably peel 1 versus a small bet. I think that's pretty reasonable versus like 500 here.
Yeah, it's a tough spot though because this is a spot where you're definitely going to underrealize your equity, I think. But against a tiny bet, you're just getting really, really good odds. Is this live? This is live. We're here for you. Feel free to ask questions, and I'll forward them to Matt if I feel inclined. And if I don't, I won't. Don't be offended. All right.
I apologize that I have to show the antes getting in every pot. I fold 4s here under the gun. I think these small pairs get raised too often in early position. Now, it is a bounty tournament, which incentivizes me a little bit more to raise. And quite frankly, because there's a missing seat, I probably should raise 4s, but like I would not raise deuces here. And probably not even 3s. Like this is like the stone bottom of my range here. And this, with these stack sizes, we're deep enough. I probably should be raising 4s. I think this is too tight of a fold. It could be me multi-tabling. Could be just me making a mistake. But
I'll say that in general, I think as the field gets softer and softer, I'm more inclined to play those types of hands, like 2s, 3s, 4s. I don't know how this particular $250 tournament was playing. If it's like super soft, then probably want to play them. If it's not super soft, then definitely fine to fold.
Yep.
However, there is this bounty implication too to some extent at this point, so I don't know if that matters all that much, but it's certainly relevant because now you can collect bounties of most of the people.
Yeah, as I cover everyone there, it's probably I should be raising there almost always, I think, with 4s.
It's at least viable. Like whenever you can collect bounties and the bounties are relevant, you should be more inclined to play pots across the board. So just like widen your range a little bit in general.
Yep, 100%. I think we have a pretty. I think we're too deep to jam here with 8s at like almost 60 big blinds.
How many big blinds would you jam with in this scenario? Like, what's the maximum, roughly, against?
If I had 40, I'd probably strongly consider just jamming here. So with 8,000, with like 12,000 chips, and there's already 3K in the pot, like, as long as I don't think these players are capable, like, if they have like pocket 10s, they're probably 3-betting. Maybe, like, if I had 10s here, I'd be squeezing 100%. I'd be 3-betting. Possibly shoving, either 3-bets non all in and then call a shove, or go all in myself if I had 10s.
So when you 3-bet 10s, you're not planning to fold if somebody jams.
Exactly.
Right? So I want to make that really clear because so many people 3-bet like ace king or ace queen suited or 10s or jacks or something like that without any real plan for how to continue.
Yeah,
and I think you have to realize that like that's a value hand, right?
Yeah. So what I'm getting at here is like I would always re-raise 10s in some form here. 9s is like close, and then 8s is probably the best hand that I call with.
Yeah.
In terms of the pocket pairs. That's how I think about this spot. And if it was later positions like this golden W open, Katie called, prop Joe called, I'd almost 100% re-raise with 8s here and just go with it because there's so much dead money in the pot, because Katie would probably re-raise with a pair of 9s or better. This player certainly, once these players called, would almost never flat call with pocket 10s or better. So the later the position the callers, the more likely you should just re-raise because the calling ranges are much weaker. And you should really capitalize on the dead money in the pot.
Cool, good. Very often, it looks like one player will call two, and they'll just check fold flop a lot.
Yep. So we flop a set here. Very dynamic board. I'm probably going to just put in a small raise here.
Dynamic meaning it's likely to change going to the turn, right?
Exactly. Like any 9, any 7, any jack, any diamond, any ace, king, queen changes the board a lot. So there's a lot of things that are going to change here. I would also raise here.
So since it's likely to change, you want to raise now while you definitely have the best hand, right? As opposed to, like, say, a random 9 comes off. Now you don't have the nuts, and if they keep betting, you're like not loving it anymore, right?
Exactly. And I'd probably do the same here with ace 10 as I would here with 8s. For the same exact reason.
And get jammed on, are you calling it off?
Yes, I'm not going to raise fold ace 10 here. I'm not happy about it at all. But once I raise 3,700 here, it's just too many flush draws, combo draws that can jam that I have too much equity against.
Are you raising any bluffs here / draws?
Yes, but a lot of my bluff raises, like I'll raise a lot of combo draws that are capable of getting it in. I'm not going to raise I think a decent hand to raise here would be like ace of diamonds, like jack, for example, where you have 2 overcards that they call. You have a blocker to the nut flush draw. So you can bluff now when a diamond comes in. You can also bluff when the straight comes in with your jack in your hand. And if they call, you still could hit an ace or a jack that has the best hand. It doesn't really play that well as a call. That could be a decent hand to bluff with here.
So basically you're bluffing with so you're going to either be raising here in this scenario with either the nuts, like sets, good top pair type, like the best top pair type hands, maybe over pairs. Also, would you be raising the best draws, like say, I don't know, queen, jack of diamonds?
Yeah, like queen, jack of diamonds, king, queen of diamonds.
And you're going to call if you get jammed then.
Exactly.
Right? And then you're raising some draws that are not good enough to call a jam. So that way your opponent doesn't know when you raise what you have, right? You either have the nuts, or you have a really good draw, which is effectively the nuts, or you have a junky draw that's not good enough to call that has the potential to keep betting on some turns reasonably, right?
Yep.
Okay, good.
I think it's not unreasonable too. Like this won't seem that intuitive, but like even a hand like 10-9, for example, might be a decent hand to raise almost as a bluff in terms of like calling for the reasons that we talked about. There's so many bad cards. Like calling really sucks here with 10-9 3 ways on this board texture, but like folding seems really, really tight also with 10-9 here. So it's almost like you could raise as like, it's almost not just a pure bluff, but it's almost like a value bet / protection / a bluff, almost like a multi-purpose bet where you can break the same bet size. When you get called, you could start to, hopefully you clear out one of them, slow down, and now you potentially get to showdown against like ace 5 of diamonds, for example, where maybe they would have bluffed you out potentially if you just called. And you could still win the pot. You could just win the pot right now and fold out hands like, queen jack, and maybe you get called by like an 8, for example, or a stubborn pocket 9s. Like there's a lot of things that could happen that even like a hand like jack 10 or 10-9 type of hand could maybe be raised as a bluff. And then I would fold that type of a hand maybe to a jam, but like the ace 10, I would not. Like if I raise that hand, I would not fold to a jam.
Yeah, I definitely like the idea of raising to clean up equity, essentially, / protection.
That's a better way to say it with the 10-9. Like maybe this guy calls with pocket 9s and then this guy folds queen jack, for example. Like maybe something like that happens. Like there's some good things that could happen when you raise there.
What about a hand like ace of diamonds X? Do we have ace of diamonds 9, not of diamonds? I don't know if we have that hand in our range.
We'd fold pre-flop. Yeah.
Right, so we don't have that.
I was thinking of that hand for sure, like, but I'd fold pre-flop. Like,
what about
that's
ace
what I was
9
saying.
of hearts?
Ace 9 of hearts, I think we just fold or squeeze. I don't think we want to call. And probably mostly fold. But I could see a case for raising as well with that hand. I could definitely see a case for raising for that hand as well.
All right. So anyway, we're raising this hand. This hand's the nuts. All right.
Yeah. And
it's important to realize that whenever you're thinking about poker, don't just think, oh, what do I do with my 8s? You want to think, what do I do with my range here? And there are going to be some spots where you don't want to raise much at all, and some spots where you want to raise a ton. And don't get in the habit of just thinking about your one exact scenario. And we discuss this in the poker coaching homework a ton, and hopefully you get in the habit of thinking like Matt's thinking right here, right? Okay. So anyway, you get called, which is great.
Diamond comes on the turn. Not the best card, but we have a 1 SPR, so there's 12K in the pot. We have 12K back. Like
there are no really
in our hand. It's trying to figure out the best way, and a lot of people would just shove here, and I don't think shoving is the answer here. Like when we shove, we let him play very perfectly against us. Like he calls with flushes. Maybe he still calls with like queens or jacks with a diamond, those type of hands. But I think a small bet here is more appropriate than a shove. So I'd like to see myself bet like 3,500. So I bet 3,400 here.
It's an interesting spot. Whenever you bet this size, though, aren't you just giving him direct odds to call with diamonds?
You are correct. You are giving him
just not care.
I don't think we care very much because it's gonna be hard for him to play out of position even when he hits a diamond. So I think I'm more interested in trying to get him to make the most. I'm trying to give him the most room to make a mistake. That's kind of my general thinking. And if I did have a hand like Ace of Diamonds, Jack, or one of those hands that we talked about, like when we shove and he calls, like we're in pretty bad shape. Like I don't mind betting here and then folding to a shove. I think that's probably actually reasonable here with the pot size bet left. We still want to have some bluffs that we talked about, like on the turn, like a queen jack, for example. Like that would be a good hand to bluff with here for this size. We definitely should be finding bluffs, and a lot of those are going to come from like ace of diamonds or king of diamonds hands, which suck to kind of bet fold. But I think we have hands that don't want to just necessarily shove here.
Do you think we maybe should bet a little bit bigger to not give him perfectly great direct odds to draw?
If we were a little deeper, Sack, I would say so. But we're getting to the point now where it's like there's not a lot of hands we're going to fold when we have so much behind already. So that's why I went this small. I could see going a little bit bigger if this was maybe more coordinated, like the 3 was a 9, for example. It was 10, 9, 8 deuce with the flush, where there's a ton of straight draws as well, open-ended straight draws. I think I could get behind that more and maybe even shoving this hand a little bit more. But here, I went with this. I mean, you could go like 4,500, probably fine as well. I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference.
There are a lot of spots where it just doesn't make too much of a difference, so don't stress yourself out over them, right?
Yeah, this player calls.
I want to make it clear, too, you're betting the turn. You're not like, oh my god, he could have a diamond. Because he could have all the diamonds. Like, I mean, he's going to bet the good diamonds on the flop. He's going to call a raise, so he could have them. And when that happens, you got to draw to the boat.
We jam here.
Easy jam.
And
river.
If I had that like ace of diamonds jack hand, I would still shove river here. And so like this also gives me like 2 streets of value to get my bluffs to generate folds, which is another reason I like the small bet.
All right. Are you ready to go to the Matrix with me? We're going to be discussing Cyber Week. If you're a Poker Coaching Premium member already, I just want to make it clear. You have access to everything I'm going to be discussing here. You can sign up for that at pokercoaching.com/Cyber Week. So, what is Cyber Week? We have solid discounts on all of the products I have made available. We have content on cash games where you can get a solid discount. Lots of webinars on various types of cash games, including tough games, loose games, splashy games, wild games, live at the bike, all sorts of stuff. We also have my cash game masterclass, very similar to this course, 29 lessons long. If you want to check out that. We also have lots of stuff on tournament poker. Many courses, including the new tournament masterclass, where I teach you how to play every stage of the tournament optimally and how to fully realize your equity. And the tournament masterclass is not for sale. You can't buy it. It's exclusively available for Poker Coaching Premium members. And if you're a Poker Coaching Premium member, you get access to this and all of these, and this, and this, and this. Here is the table of contents for the Tournament Masterclass. We discuss pre-flop strategies with all sorts of stack depths. We discuss flop strategies at different stack depths as well. We discuss turn strategies, including some of you asked about leading the turn, right? Turn probes, delayed continuation bets, facing delayed continuation bets, etc. We also discuss playing on the river. Clearly, the river is very, very important. We also discuss ICM. This 3-letter word does not do that section justice. Substantially longer than 3 letters worth. We also discuss adjusting to various tournament formats like satellites, re-entry tournaments, turbo tournaments, 6-max tournaments, whatever. We also discuss finances, how to be a tournament pro. We also discuss various other topics like tells, mindset, tilt, etc. Plus, we have all of these hand history reviews, all of these tournaments I played over the last 6 months or so during the COVID period. All of these. There was a $50 tournament that I won, another $55 tournament that I won, a $100 tournament, $150 tournament where I took second place, a $630 tournament that I won, a $1,000 third place, a $1,000 PKO, progressive knockout tournament, where I took second place, 3 wins in satellites. These were the $2,500 buy-in tournaments in 88, 100, and 160. And I played a full session. I think I took a second or third in some of those. Again, check that out at pokercoaching.com/cyberweek. All of that, all of this, all of these hand history reviews. These all take an hour or two each. All of these are included. Here's one of my best students, Blas Zerjau. He says, poker coaching has helped him lay strong foundations to excel at No Limit Hold'em and to further work on his game with my help. As you see, Blas has been absolutely crushing it. His results are not typical. You cannot expect all of you to have $2.4 million in cashes over the last 2 years. But, poker coaching member out there, absolutely crushing. So, we have the Poker Coaching Standard membership, normally $39 a month, but you can get a year for $249. In pokercoaching.com, we have over 1,000 interactive quizzes. Now, today, we actually did a different kind of quiz. These are not counted in those 1,000 quizzes, right? Remember how we went through 3 or 4 questions each? None of those count in this 1,000 number. These 1,000 quizzes are like interactive hands, where you have to tell me each play you would make, and then you get graded on each betting round as to how you play those spots. And it's not only me, it's a bunch of other world-class coaches as well. So essentially, we'll present you a spot like this. You have to say what you would do, and then you'll get immediate feedback from the coach who made the quiz. Also part of pokercoaching.com, we have over 300 classes and webinars. These are somewhere between 30 minutes long and 2 hours long. Like recently, Faraz Jaka. You all may know him. He was WPT Player of the Year a while back. I think he was Player of the Year. Yeah, he's Player of the Year. He made a deep run in the $5,000 WCOOP event. So he went through all of his big hands. Here we have Michael Acevedo. He wrote the book, Modern Poker Theory. He has a lot of GTO solver stuff. I actually learned pretty much everything I know about solvers from Michael Acevedo. He helped design PioSolver. He got into Munker Solver before pretty much anyone, and he is an absolute crusher. Also, lots and lots of other content here. We just hired Brad Wilson, world-class cash game player, and looking forward to having more and more high-level cash game content from him. Here are the rest of the coaches. Just to highlight a few, we have James Romero. He was in the top 10 live tournament players in the world pre-COVID. Absolute crusher. We have Bert Stevens, Giraffe Ganger, 7. He was the number 1 player online a year or 2 ago. He took a year or 2 off to hang out and relax, and now he's back grinding hard. He actually went through a $10,000 win. It was a $10,000 buy-in tournament. He won like $450K a few weeks ago. He went through all of the major hands with Michael Acevedo. Also, he's won 2 EPTs over the last 2 weeks. He's absolutely crushing it. He did a private stream just the other day for all the poker coaching members. We have lots and lots of interactive private streams. Imagine a stream on Twitch, except for not a lot of nonsense, right? I know we have a very, very good Twitch following here. Thank you all for being good, responsible humans on Twitch, by the way. I know sometimes it gets out of line. But listen, if these guys were streaming publicly, they'd have many, many thousands of viewers, and you wouldn't be able to get any words in. They'd have a tough time answering questions. Instead, we keep it small. There'll be somewhere between 50 and 200 people watching the streams, and they'll answer every question that you ask. That's what we're going for. Also, yeah, Eric points out, we just added Tommy Angelo, one of the people who was the most influential on my poker career as a young poker player. He is the mindset expert, and we just hired him as a coach. He's going to be presenting a webinar, when? Tomorrow. Literally tomorrow. Brand new coach for you. We're continuing to expand the roster. They have over $50 million in earnings. Did I mention that? So, you all may not know this. Since making Poker Coaching Premium, I spent over $200,000 on content. This is money that I have paid the coaches for that. It costs a lot of money to hire the best coaches in the world, but I don't mind. Also, every single month, I'm spending mid-5 figures. Call it $30,000. $30,000 a month on poker coaching content so that you have the most up-to-date, high-level content. And now, what is that worth? Obviously, I'm not going to charge you $10,000 a month for this. I'm not even going to charge you $500 a month, right? But if you think about it, If I did charge you $500 per month, and all I did was help you win an additional big pot or 2 per session that you played, that you would not have won otherwise, would it be worth it? And if you play small stakes, medium stakes, the answer is yes. And to think about it, if all I did was let you attend live weekly coaching webinars with our coaches that have over $50 million in earnings, where you get to ask them whatever poker questions you have in real time, what's that worth? Well, again, if you play poker at any reasonable level, it's worth a pretty decent amount, right? What if all I did was give you access to the thousands of poker situations and the quizzes that you would do, that you're going to encounter every single day, and get instant feedback, immediate feedback from the coaches with new situations added every single week? Again, what is that worth? Take a second. Think about it. Realistically, really, if you can get access to the minds of the best poker coaches in the world, what's that worth to you? Well, if you think it is worth $500 a month, like I said, which is what many, there's only a few, of the high-level training sites charge with substantially less content and almost no new content. If you think that that is a value, well then, if you have not already, you need to take advantage of the Cyber Week and join Poker Coaching Premium, where you can get access to all of this if you get the 3-year plan for $42 per month. It's an absolute steal. And recognize that I've created Poker Coaching Premium to give you all of the tools and training that you need to achieve your poker potential. That is what I want all of you to do. I want you to achieve your poker potential. And if I fail at that job, if I'm not good at my job, I do not want or deserve your money. And that's why, unlike basically every other poker training site out there, I offer a full 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not completely satisfied with PokerCoaching.com, let me know within 30 days, and we'll give you a completely 100% full refund. What more do you want? Sign up for 30 days, tell me you don't like it, and cancel. And I will not be offended. All right? That's what we have for you. That is what we're going for. It's a business. You're not doing this out of the love for us. But did you all know, back before this was a profitable business, I make money off this. Before this was a profitable business, I was losing about $3,000 to $5,000 a month making content for all of you for like 5 years. For 5 years, I threw $3,000 to $5,000 into the furnace every month. Why was that? Maybe I'm a degenerate. I'm not sure. That money was purely for content, purely to help all of you get good at poker. But turns out, if you work hard for a long period of time and you help people achieve their goals and help them enjoy their activities like poker better, they're going to reward you. They're going to sign up, right? That is what people will do for you. If any of you have any billing questions, feel free to email support@pokercoaching.com and they will answer those for you. As we see here, members get access to the Tournament Masterclass. Again, we went through 3 parts of that today out of the 180. Also, there's a 30-day tournament challenge. Every day, we will give you a new piece of content to study to help you develop good study routines and make sure that you're a great tournament player. We also have a 14-day cash game challenge as well. And we have a cash game masterclass too. Remember, all of these things we've discussed so far are part of Poker Coaching Premium. All of these courses, the cash game masterclass, all of these courses, and many, 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 many more. By the way, whenever you sign up to PokerCoaching.com, if you're not sure where to start, send us an email and we'll let you know. Let us know roughly what games you play. Let us know what stakes you play, and we'll point you in the right direction. Do we have any mindset coaches? I told you, we just hired Tommy Angelo. He will be a regular contributing coach. Also, we have content on the site from Jared Tendler. He wrote the book, The Mental Game of Poker. We have content from Elliot Rowe, who has been the mindset coach for many of the absolute best players in the world, including people like Fedor Holtz. We have 2 webinars by Fedor Holtz. He made 2 mindset courses for us as well. We worked with him a little bit in the past. And Dr. Trisha Cardner. Again, all this stuff's there. It's part of the deal. I made PokerCoaching.com to be the one-stop shop so that you do not need to go anywhere else to study poker content. You wouldn't say you were throwing money into the furnace. It was an investment. You all may not know this. This is my little secret about the training site. I am happy to pay thousands of dollars per hour for private coaching because I play poker at a very high level, and it is worth it for me. And if I can turn around and share that with all of you for a tiny, tiny fraction of the price, that's a super value. I mean, again, going back to these coaches, I just want to tell you all, I hate playing poker against Faraz Jaka. And I hate playing poker against James Romero. And I hate playing poker against Bert Stevens and Jonathan Jaffe and Matt Affleck. I mean, really, all of these people. These people all make your life miserable at the poker table. I hire people who I want to learn from. I am hiring the best players in the world to teach me how to get good at poker. And in turn, they're going to teach you to get good at poker. And again, if you're not completely satisfied with PokerCoaching.com, within 30 days, tell me you don't like it, I'll give you a full refund. Don't know what more you want from me, right? We try to give you an immense amount of content. We will tell you exactly where to go if you let us know your situation. And anytime you have feedback, anytime you have questions, send us an email and I'll do my best to answer them. We actually just had something we were doing new recently. We had Poker Coaching Premium Office Hours this morning at 10 a.m. for about 2 hours. I got online, did a show kind of like this, and I answered hand history questions for the most part. There were a few Hold'em manager questions from the students. What we do, right? Every month we've been doing that for the last few months, and it's been going great. We also have a Discord channel. We have a study group that studies Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. We will sporadically back players into tournaments because I realize some of you want a shot to play $500 and $1,000 buy-in tournaments. So we give you a shot. You need help beating $25 to $150 tournaments. Where should you start? The Tournament Masterclass. I'm telling you, if you make it through the Tournament Masterclass, 30-ish hours long, not including the hand history reviews, as we see here. Here it is. This is part of PokerCoaching.com. What I would tell you to do, you want to win $25 to $150 tournaments. Go through these hand history reviews. Here are literally 3 hand history reviews that I played over the last few months, where I played a $50 tournament and won, another $50 tournament and won, and a $150 tournament and took second place. Okay? Okay. So anyway, check it out, PokerCoaching.com/cyberweek. I want to thank all of you for being here with me today. Hope you enjoyed this. What would I prescribe to quickly improve you in small stakes tournaments? The Tournament Masterclass. That said, send us an email with your exact situation and we will send you to the right direction. If you're a Poker Coaching Premium member or a Poker Coaching member, I'm here for you, right? I answer and see all the emails that come through. I do my best to be available to all of you within reason. Understand we have many students, so it's tough sometimes, but I do my absolute best. I have a great support team who will help you out. Again, if you have any billing questions, I see some of you asking this, send us an email, support@pokercoaching.com. We are fair, reasonable humans, and we'll do our best to help you out. So anyway, that's it. It's Cyber Week. Enjoy it. Check it out, PokerCoaching.com/cyberweek.